Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Rissa Roams. My name is Marissa, or you may know me as Mosey on trail. Um, Long awaited video. Sorry to keep you guys hanging for so long, but I am finally making my Appalachian Trail through hike gear video. So, this is the gear that I finished trail with, and I'm just going to give you my reviews and how everything worked out for me. So, to start off, we're going to do my big three. And the first item in that we're going to do is my pack. So I used the REI Flash 55. It was a great pack. Lightweight, comfortable. I had no issues with it. There are a few holes in it. There's definitely some wear and tear, but I mean, it went 2,200 miles and held up okay. I'm going to continue using it until it falls apart. And those holes are actually from when the boys were carrying it through Mosaic Notch when I had my ankle fracture. So it was being carried a little precariously through those rock scrambles. So yeah, I love the forward-facing water bottle pockets. I love the big hip belt pockets. And there was just plenty of space for all of my stuff. We're also going to talk about all the stuff that is on the outside of my pack. So I have a bandana that I used for sweat and snot. I have my Zoleo satellite messenger here. I will say, I'm going to touch on this in my gear swap video. I have not swapped it out yet, but it is something that I am looking to upgrade. It worked well for the most part, other than one time when it needed a software update that I hadn't installed, and then I couldn't communicate. I will say my biggest issue with it is that you do have to use your phone in order to send messages from it. So if something were to happen to my phone or if the app needs updating, then other than sending an SOS or sending a check-in, I cannot communicate with anyone. So I'm looking to switch to something different that has capabilities of sending directly from the device. So that's my one point on that. And then I have my little phone pocket here. This one was Trekker Joe's. I got it from Garage Grown Gear and it worked really well for me. I liked that it had the zipper that went around instead of, I think the Chicken Tramper one has a zipper that goes on the front. So this worked really well for me and kept my phone easily accessible and protected. The last thing that I have hanging on my pack is actually my bathroom kit. So I've got a Kula cloth, which I highly recommend to anyone who squats when they pee. Yeah, this worked well for me. And then I had my hand sanitizer on here, as well as I used a pee style. So one thing that was notable about me when I started trail was I had pants that had a pee zipper on them. I didn't continue wearing them because I did just size out of them. I lost weight and they didn't fit. Rather than replacing those pants, I got a pee style. The case obviously is falling apart. It just is much more convenient as a woman to be able to step off trail and use something like this rather than find a more discreet place to take off your pants or pull them down. So I use the pee style. It worked really well for me. So that is the last thing hanging on the outside of my pack. All right, as far as rain protection for the pack, I started out with a Nylofume, however you say that, pack liner that I got from Garage Grown Gear. It lasted all the way to Pennsylvania for me. I know a lot of people have issues with those busting pretty early into using them. They worked really well for me, but I just wasn't able to replace it. So I did get just a regular trash compactor bag like everyone uses for the most part. I do recommend the trash compactor bags because they're white and it's easier to see inside your pack as opposed to a contractor bag, which I did have at one point. Those are typically black and are much harder to just see inside your pack when you're using that. I also used the Sea to Summit pack cover. Worked well enough. You know, nothing is completely waterproof, but it was just an extra layer of protection to ensure that all of my stuff was wet. I didn't have any situations where my gear got wet. And so between the pack liner and the pack cover seemed to be a good system for me. All right, moving on from the pack to my sleep system. So first we'll talk about my shelter. I had the Durston X-Mid 1. I could not speak highly enough of this tent. It worked so well for me. I had one night where I did get wet inside my tent, and it was just a raging thunderstorm. I don't know that anything would have kept the water from coming up under the vestibule like that. But I had another night where I was in a tent site that got washed out. I was sitting in a puddle, but none of the water seeped through the tent. I did not use a ground sheet, which is a hot take. I didn't have Tyvek. I ordered the Durston ground sheet, but it didn't come in time for me to take it on trail with me. And so Durston says that it should last hundreds of nights without a ground sheet, and it did for me. I didn't have any rips, tears, and like I said, only one night with any leakage, but it held up really well. Super spacious for a one person, as far as like the added space of the vestibules. Easy to pitch. I only had one night where I regretted having a trekking pole tent, which I think is pretty good out of 221 nights on trail. So yes, highly recommend the X-Mid. Will purchase Durston tents in the future for sure. All right, and so my actual sleep system. I used the Nemo Tensor. This is the old one. It was discontinued. I purchased this from REI like outlet after it had been discontinued. I just have the regular width, regular length one, the square, not the mummy, and kept me comfy. You know, a wide probably would have been nice, but I didn't want to have those extra few ounces. So this, yeah, kept me warm and comfy, slept well on it, didn't have any issues, never got a hole in it, knock on wood. And once again, I didn't have a ground sheet. And when I was in a shelter, I didn't lay anything under it. I probably should have, but it held up really well. And yeah, no leaks or anything. So highly recommend Nemo. Hey there, editing Marissa here. I didn't discuss a pillow, so I do want to just show you what I did. I did not have a backpacking pillow, and I'm just not a big pillow person in general. I started out stuffing my puffy in a buff, but I didn't find that very comfortable. I felt like it was too compact. So one night I discovered this hack, and it has been my pillow ever since. I love it. So I stuff my puffy inside my Senshi hoodie and then wrap it up. So I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, this is going to be a rough setup, but I shove it, my puffy, inside the Senshi hoodie first, and then kind of spread the arms to the sides. What I do is I take the hood here and I flip it inside out and wrap it around the body of the hoodie, stuffing it inside the hood. I know this is so weird. Just to kind of make like, you know, a round shape. And then I take the sleeves and I cross them around, and then I go to the other side, and then I just tie them. And then I flip it over, and that is my pillow right there. So that's what I used. All right, and finally, in the big three is my quilt. Oh no. Well, that is a shocking discovery. Okay. This is the Enlightened Equipment Revelation 20. I got this from Miranda Goes Outside in her 100,000 subscriber giveaway. It's a 20-degree bag, like I said, kept me warm all of trail. In fact, even on some cold nights, I was sweating. I never really had a problem with my feet getting cold, even though it is you know, cinched at the bottom. You can open it up, and I liked that, especially in the summer, to be able to use it more as a blanket. And so highly recommend this product. The discovery that I just made is that there is a hole in it. That is my first time seeing that. I'm not sure when that happened. So that's a little upsetting. I'll have to get a patch to put on that, but I do have some gear tape. So yeah, for the most part, did a great job. Like I said, kept me warm, kept me comfy. Highly recommend Enlightened equipment. I also have their puffy, and yeah, I would continue to purchase from them, although I did not purchase this item. Thank you once again, Miranda, for this. All right, so next up in my gear list will be my kitchen. So for my food protection, I used a Bear Vault, the Bear Vault 475. I used this olive trail. I had many people tell me that I would not, that I either couldn't carry it the whole way, or that I would get tired of it, or that I would end up sleeping with my food like every other thru hiker does. I did not. I thought that the weight was worth it. I do not like hanging my food, but I was not going to sleep with my food. That is not a choice that I was willing to make. I camped with many people who did, and that is their choice. But I want to follow leave no trace principles to the best of my ability and make sure that critters aren't getting acclimated to food or getting into it. So I used the Bear Vault. Like I said, heavy, but convenient. I didn't have to find a tree. I didn't have to hang a bag. If I was tired at night when I got in, I could just find a place to sit this. I would usually wedge it under a tree. And so, yeah, I don't regret carrying this. It also worked as a stool. And so I use this every morning to sit on, to put my shoes on, and to stuff my tent in its sack. And so, yeah, did a good job. Didn't have any issues with animals of any kind. All right, so when it comes to cooking and preparing my food, once again, a controversial choice. I have the old school Stanley cook pot. I got this when I was probably in college for $15 from Walmart. I love this. I don't know that I will ever switch to something lighter. I know it's heavy. I don't care. I love the handle that flips out, but also keeps the lid secure. I like that it has the drainage holes. I like that it has measurements listed on it, and everything fits inside. And so with this, I would have my fuel canister at the bottom. And then I would have my stove, which is the BRS stove. Get it on Amazon for like 20 bucks. The lightest weight stove you can find. I know some people have had issues with this stove. I will say it's probably not the most fuel efficient, but it gets the job done. And yeah, I didn't have any sort of issues with it. And I would just wrap it up in a bandana to keep it from banging around in the pot. But also then I had the bandana to dry out my pot after I was done cooking. And I kept a Bic lighter in here as well. So that was my kitchen. I did Ziploc bag cooking for the most part. I didn't really cook in my pot at all because I didn't want to be bothered to wash it. I'm a very lazy hiker. I don't want to hang a bear bag. I don't want to wash my pot. So I'm going to find easy alternatives. So I used this Mylar bag from Big Sky International. I got it from Garage Grown Gear for like 15 bucks. I will say I probably could have gotten the small. I think this is the medium size. It was plenty big, probably too big for what I was cooking in here. And so I would pour my boiling water in the Ziplocs, put the Ziploc in here, let it rehydrate, and this just helps keep everything warm and rehydrate quickly. So highly recommend this. And then I used the Sea to Summit long handle spoon. I am not a sport girly. I don't find it necessary. The tongs on a sport aren't really all that helpful. So I just did a spoon. I didn't do the polished bowl. I didn't really feel like I needed that luxury. So this is my spoon. It desperately needs washing. Still haven't washed it post-trail. So that's pretty gross. I'm hitting the pinhoti the day after I film this. So I'm gonna wash this before I leave. All right, and then last thing in regards to kitchen is water filtration. I started out with a dirty bottle, clean bottle system and the Sawyer squeeze, I found that that was just obnoxious for me. So I ended up getting a CNOC bag to filter my water into 2 smart water bottles. I used that for majority of trail. I will say water sources in Maine really clogged up my Sawyer filter and it slowed down. I was back flushing it, but wasn't really getting anything to come out of it. It still worked, it still did the job, but it was very slow. And as I was moving south, I did a flip flop hike. It was getting pretty cold, and taking that long to filter water was just really hard on my hands. And so I wanted something that moved a little faster. So when I was in Connecticut, I switched to the Katadyn Be Free filter, and this was great. I highly recommend it. I also highly recommend Sawyer. I have no issues with the Sawyer filter and will continue to use Sawyer products. But at that time, I just needed something fast and easy, and the Be Free worked really well for me. All right, next we're getting into our smaller, more miscellaneous categories of gear. So we're going to start with electronics. So this is what I had with me. I carried the Anker 20,000 milliamp, whatever it is, charger. It has both the Type C and a USB. Worked really well for me. Yeah, 20,000 is a lot. Most people probably don't need that, but as I was vlogging and editing and whatnot on trail, I just felt like this was worth the added weight, so I did the 20,000 milliamp Anker. I also had an Anker charging block. This has 2 USBs C's and 1 regular USB, and flips out. Worked well for me. It was a popular choice. I saw several of these around, so that's why I added a few stickers to personalize it. As far as cords go, I had a cord for my watch. I've got the Coros Apex 2 here, and so I had a cord for that, and then I had 3 cords that were Type C, just to charge everything. I went with 3 cords so I could use all my ports on my charging block at one time. I also have the Nightcore, I think it's the NU25 headlamp. Super bright, love that it's rechargeable, like that it has the red light setting. So this worked well for me as well. I will say, if I were to repurchase this, I probably would get the headband that isn't all cord, but has like a thicker band and then is cord on the back, because this isn't the most comfortable and it does get tangled. But as far as like the quality of the item, highly recommend. It was a great headlamp. Popular choice. And then my last electronic is a little luxury item. I had the Flex Tail like 1, whatever they, or zero pump, I think is what they call this. So I had this, not necessary. You could blow up your pad, with your breath or with the pump sack that comes with the pad. But once again, I'm a lazy hiker and I like to make things quick and easy. I'm tired when I get to camp and I just want to get everything set up quickly and easily. So the 2 ounces that this ends up weighing with the battery and the adapter was well worth it for me. And so I had no issues with this. I know some people I heard had issues with the battery not lasting. I think the biggest thing with that is just making sure it doesn't get cold. So I always slept with it in my foot box along with all my electronics, even when it wasn't terribly cold outside, and that seemed to keep the battery going. I never had it die on me on trail. I would just charge it whenever I got to town and it always lasted for me. Okay, a few more miscellaneous items. I have my ditty bag. I'm going to do a video talking about what all I kept in my ditty bag, because I don't see a lot of those videos, and I always am curious as what little things people keep, or like what sort of first aid people actually carry on trail. So I'll do a more in-depth video for that. But this just had all of my first aid, repair, Toiletry is usually kept in the bear can, but sometimes I would keep it in this during the day just for easy access. And so I also kept my electronics in this bag just as an extra layer of protection. I had them in a Ziploc in this just to make sure everything stayed dry. So I had my ditty bag. I also have my bathroom bag here. I kept wipes in this. I am a wipe user. I pack them out. Maybe you think that's gross, but wipes just work better for me than toilet paper when you're sweaty or it's raining. Toilet paper just doesn't do it. And I was always sweaty. So I kept wipes in here. And then I had, sorry for the crinkles, I had the Bogler Co. trowel, super lightweight, has, you know, a little bit of a jagged edge to kind of get in the dirt there. It has that plastic piece to keep from hurting your palm when you're pressing in. I will say it's pretty flimsy, but it's super lightweight, so that's why. But I had no issues with it. It did the job. I dug my cat holes with this. I also kept some Dr. Bronner's unscented soap in here to wash my hands. And I started, but ended up sending home a bidet. So this was the Kulo Clean. It worked fine. There was no issues with that. And I did enjoy using it when I used it. But it was a pretty dry year and it just didn't feel reasonable for me to use water for this purpose when water was a pretty precious resource and I just didn't want to be carrying it. It was, you know, often a long stretch between water sources. So I opted not to use the bidet any longer. And then when it's cold outside, you don't really want to spray cold water on your bum anyway. And so I didn't get it back once, you know, water was, well, actually water never really was all that plentiful other than maybe in Maine. But otherwise, once we got into summer and fall, water was a scarce resource. And so using a bidet just didn't seem practical for me. All right, a few more miscellaneous items. I started with a really small REI pack towel and I accidentally sent it home one day, but I did need a towel just to dry off my tent, you know, if it was wet. I also used it for showers at, you know, camping areas where, you know, it's not a hostel. There's not going to be towels there. So I did have this pack towel. I will say it is huge. It's overkill. It's way bigger than I needed, but this was given to me by someone I stayed with. And so I absolutely cannot complain about it. It did the job. Once again, I would probably get something smaller going forward, but yeah, it was good to have this for showering and wiping off my tent. Another miscellaneous item that I carried while I was in, specifically the whites, were these fish hook stakes. Using a trekking pole tent, I didn't know how difficult it would be to set up on tent platforms. You know, you can use rocks, but I just felt like that was going to be a headache to do. And so only while I was in areas where I knew there would be tent platforms did I carry these stakes, the fish hook stakes. They worked really well for me, and honestly it was the easiest tent pitch ever with these. So super glad I had them, but only had them for a limited time on trail. All right, and my last item we're going to talk about, another semi-controversial one. I have the Cascade Mountain Tech poles here. They're like $25 on Amazon, and you know, not the lightest weight, but let me tell you, they did the job. I know plenty of people who had much more expensive trekking poles that broke on them or didn't last. These $25 poles made it the whole way, and I have since repurchased a pair. I'm retiring these. They still work, they still do the job, but the little plastic knobs that you tighten and loosen to adjust have broken off. I did have to replace the tips once. They broke off in Pennsylvania, and so I got new ones before I summited Katahdin because I flipped at Delaware Water Gap. And so when I got to Maine, I got new tips. But yeah, got the cork handles just because that is better, absorbs your sweat a lot better, and doesn't feel as gross as the foam. So would always go with cork handles when I'm picking trekking poles. But yeah, other than the plastic knobs breaking off and the like the measurements have rubbed off, so I just kind of have to estimate when I'm setting my poles with this old pair. But they did it. They went the entire length of the Appalachian Trail. And if you include the other hikes I did last year, I would say, there's probably 2,500 miles on these poles. So, yeah, awesome. Cannot speak highly enough of these $25 poles. And like I said, already repurchased another pair to use going forward. All right, once again, editing Marissa coming in with a piece of gear that I forgot to talk about. So I started with a neck knife from MT Knives. I'll put a picture of it on the screen. It's a great knife. It's super sharp, really durable. I just discovered that a neck knife wasn't for me. I only really used it to cut summer sausage, and I didn't like having the weight around my neck, and in the heat I kind of get a little bit of a rash on my chest, so having that sitting there just wasn't very comfortable. So I did end up sending that knife home, but I want to talk about it because Patrick is incredible. So I had some issues with the sheath. It had kind of split when it's fresh, when it's brand new and you're putting the knife in. If you don't get it just right, the knife is so sharp it will cut the sheath. And so that kind of made it difficult to get in and out. I was going to contact him while I was on trail and see if he would send me a replacement sheath. I never got around to it, and like I said, I ended up sending the knife home. However, like I said, it wasn't a good fit for me, but I think it's a great piece of gear. Half Baked had the same knife, and he lost his when he was aqua blazing in Shenandoah. So for Christmas, I actually gave him my knife because I wasn't planning on using it anymore. I had ordered a replacement sheath to go with it when I gave him the knife. One, because mine was broken, and two, so he could set it the right length for his neck, because I had cut it for myself, and I know he probably would need a longer strap. And when I ordered the replacement sheath, Patrick called me and was like, hey, why did you order this replacement sheath? I told him the situation and was like, hey, I never reached out to you to get a replacement, so I just figured I would buy one. He refunded me for the sheath and only charged me the $5 for shipping. And so, yeah, even though the knife wasn't the right fit for me, I highly recommend MT Knives. Great customer service. So just wanted to put that in here before I close out the video. All right, and so with that, that is all of the gear that I carried on the Appalachian Trail. I do have a separate video that details all of the clothing that I carried on trail, and I'm also going to have a video detailing gear swaps I made. There weren't a lot, but I do just want to kind of talk about what did and didn't work for me and the changes that I made. So thank you so much for watching this. Once again, I know that it did not come out in a timely manner for those of you who are regular viewers, but I hope that this was helpful. And if you're planning your through hike, congratulations. I'm so excited for you. It's going to be the best time of your life. At least it was for me. And I hope that some of these gear reviews can help you as you go forward. So thank you so much and have a good one. Bye.